This is Serbia, a land fought over by empires, carved by war, and famous for sending invaders home limping, if they make it home at all. Trying to invade Serbia is like trying to run through a brick wall, except the wall shoots back, knows your mother's maiden name, and has been holding a personal grudge since the 14th century. It's not a challenge, it's a bad life decision.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Okay guys, we're going to be seeing a video today. This is titled Why Serbia is Impossible to Invade. All right, this is going to be my first time checking out a video like this from Serbia. All right, if you're curious and excited to know why it is really impossible to invade Serbia, like, share, and comment. All right, so let's jump in.
It begins in silence. A gray dawn rolls over the Balkan hills, mist curling in valleys carved by rivers older than memory. The Danube glints like a blade in the morning light, and the Dinaric Alps loom in the west, their jagged peaks cutting the sky like ancient sentinels. This is Serbia, a land fought over by empires, carved by war, and famous for sending invaders home limping, if they make it home at all. Trying to invade Serbia is like trying to run through a brick wall, except the wall shoots back, knows your mother's maiden name, and has been holding a personal grudge since the 14th century. It's not a challenge, it's a bad life decision. Serbia's greatest strength begins with its unforgiving geography. To the west, the Dinaric Alps rise in stubborn defiance, blocking mechanized forces and funneling them into narrow, ambush-ready passes. To the east, the Carpathians form another barrier, while central Serbia's Šumadija hills break up the terrain into sniper-friendly ridges and winding valleys. The mighty Danube and Sava rivers slice through the country like steel barriers, acting as both lifelines and natural moats. Try crossing them under fire and you'll understand why history is littered with failed attempts. And then there's the Iron Gate Gorge, a narrow, fortress-like cut through the cliffs where attackers are funneled straight into the jaws of defensive fire. Even the weather wages war here. Summers are dry and blistering, draining soldiers and baking equipment. Winters freeze supply lines solid and turn troop movement into a slow-motion disaster film. Between them comes the mud season, when the land itself becomes an enemy, swallowing vehicles and making your invasion look less like blitzkrieg and more like an episode of World's Worst Road Trips. Geography, though, is just the prologue. Serbia's military history is a catalog of defiance. In 1805 at Ivankovac, Serbian rebels halted the Ottoman advance. At Mishar and Deligrad, smaller forces bloodied larger imperial armies. The message was clear: underestimate Serbia, and you won't like the ending. The most famous example, World War I. In 1914, Austro-Hungary expected a quick victory. Instead, they were thrown back in humiliating defeats, suffering staggering casualties. It took disease, starvation, and a combined assault by Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Bulgaria to finally overrun Serbia. And even then, the Serbian army managed a legendary retreat through Albania, regrouping to fight again on a new front. This endurance is wired into Serbia's strategic DNA. Under Yugoslavia, the doctrine of total people's defense was born. If invaded, the entire population would fight. Cities, villages, forests, and mountains would become part of the battlefield. The modern Serbian armed forces have inherited this mindset, updating it for a world of drones, cyber warfare, and precision strikes. While Serbia isn't a global military superpower, it's no soft target. The army continues to modernize its air defenses, artillery, and reconnaissance systems. The Military Geographical Institute knows every slope, gorge, and back road, meaning any invader will face a defender who has studied the battlefield for centuries. Then there's Serbia's diplomatic strategy, its invisible shield. The nation balances relationships between East and West with almost acrobatic skill. It buys arms from Russia and China, attracts EU investment, and keeps communication open with NATO. An invasion here risks sparking a chain reaction involving Moscow, Brussels, and Washington. That's not a military campaign. That's a geopolitical doomsday button. The Balkans themselves are a minefield of alliances and tensions. NATO troops in nearby Kosovo, EU integration efforts, and regional security pacts mean that any move against Serbia could set the entire region alight faster than you can say Article 5. And never underestimate the people. Serbs are proud, tough, and allergic to submission. This is a nation that has endured centuries of occupation, survived NATO air campaigns, and kept its identity intact. In a crisis, the population doesn't wait for orders. They mobilize. From trained soldiers to resourceful civilians.
Okay, they are allergic to submission. All right, this is quite great. And it also looks like they really have lots of alliance. Like if you dare them, lots of countries are going to be out backing them up. Okay, this is quite interesting.
Everyone becomes part of the defense. Even the grandmothers will join in. And a Serbian grandmother with a rolling pin is as dangerous as a frontline rifleman. Invading Serbia is a logistical nightmare. The terrain will chew up your vehicles, the rivers will stop your armor, the weather will wear you down, and the army will bleed you in ambush after ambush. The people will fight you in the cities, the hills, and the forests, and they'll remember your name for generations. And this is only part one. Because if you survive all that, you still have to face Serbia's most dangerous weapon, patience. The kind that has outlasted empires and will still be here when yours is gone. If part one was the introduction to the nightmare, part two is the bad dream you can't wake up from. This is where Serbia's defenses go from daunting to downright demoralizing for anyone foolish enough to try. We've covered geography, history, and political deterrence. Now we move into the meat of modern capabilities and case studies that would make any general think twice. Let's start with the Serbian armed forces. Today's Serbian army isn't the ragtag remnant of a bygone era. It's a streamlined force of roughly 30,000 active personnel, supported by tens of thousands of reservists. They train not just for conventional defense, but for asymmetric warfare, ambushes, sabotage, and turning every choke point into a trap. Serbia's air defense network, while not on par with NATO's, is dense and layered enough to punish aerial incursions. Systems like the Pantsir S-1 and modernized S-125 Neva are integrated with radar coverage that leaves little room for surprise. The Serbian Air Force, small but capable, operates MiG-29s upgraded with modern avionics, as well as attack helicopters for rapid response in rough terrain. Add to that the country's growing drone reconnaissance capabilities, and you have a defender that can see your movements long before you reach the border. Civilian mobilization remains a core concept. The total defense doctrine still influences policy. Infrastructure, from highways to bridges, can be sabotaged or fortified within hours. Civilians are drilled in emergency procedures, and the government maintains a strategic reserve of food, fuel, and ammunition to outlast sieges. History offers plenty of reminders for would-be invaders. Take the Austro-Hungarian invasion of 1914, defeated repeatedly in battles like Ser and Kolubara, or the 1999 NATO bombing campaign where Serbia's military used camouflage, decoys, and mobile missile batteries to frustrate a technologically superior force. Even after weeks of airstrikes, NATO found it difficult to degrade Serbia's capacity to resist. The Ottomans learned this lesson centuries earlier. The first Serbian uprising, 1804 to 1813, saw determined guerrilla warfare carve out victories against a much larger imperial army. Local fighters used the mountains, forests, and rivers as force multipliers, knowing every inch of the land like a chessboard they designed themselves. Strategically, Serbia's alliances and relationships are a double-edged sword for any aggressor. An attack risks drawing in Russia as a traditional ally, complicating matters with potential support ranging from arms shipments to diplomatic obstruction in the UN. Meanwhile, the EU, with which Serbia maintains complex ties, could be pressured into punitive measures or even coordinated defense support. And NATO, with troops stationed in Kosovo and surrounding countries, is just a heartbeat away from intervention. The strategic implications of invading Serbia ripple far beyond its borders. The Balkans are a powder keg of ethnic, political, and military tensions. Destabilizing Serbia risks destabilizing Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Montenegro, and even North Macedonia. In military terms, an invasion could turn the entire peninsula into a protracted, multi-front conflict. That's not a war, that's a career-ending catastrophe. Even if an aggressor somehow achieved a breakthrough, holding territory would be another matter entirely. Serbia's terrain and civilian resistance would turn occupation into a grinding war of attrition. Supply lines would be harassed relentlessly. Every convoy, every patrol, every garrison would be under constant threat from guerrilla attacks. In short, Serbia is not just hard to invade, It's nearly impossible to conquer and hold. Between its natural defenses, hardened military, resilient population, and the geopolitical tripwires surrounding it,
Commercial office in Jerusalem this month, and to move its embassy to Jerusalem in July. That's fantastic. That's a big thing. That's a very big statement, and we appreciate that very much. It's taken tremendous bravery by the president of Serbia.
the country is the definition of a bad strategic gamble. And if you still think you can win, well, there's a Serbian grandmother somewhere polishing her rolling pin, just waiting to prove you wrong.
Okay, it's interesting. All right, nobody actually wants war. Nobody is praying for war to happen. These are just some of the many reasons why Serbia cannot be invaded. All right, so and it's really valid. I know back in history we have lots of countries that were invaded multiple times and all of that. Okay, that's in history. Okay, but talking about the present day, all right, a lot of countries are working towards securing their countries. A lot of countries are working towards making sure their country cannot be invaded, and Serbia is just doing fine with that, trying to protect their country and make sure like they increase the strength of their country. All right, this is really wonderful. Share your thoughts and your opinion. Do you think this video is accurate? Do you think Serbia is impossible to invade? Share your thoughts and your opinion in the comment section. All right, thank you for watching, and see you guys on my next one. Bye.